So we're back. Welcome to Off the Mark, episode 12. It is Friday, February 23rd. We're back like cook crack in the 80s. I'm happy to be here. Kiko, what's going on, brother?
Get my headphones on.
Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Pray, what's happening with you, baby?
Oh, man, we're just putting zeros in the bank account right now. So it's this is like our time of year where we shine, So it's like
a trillion watts.
Like a trillion watts.
Yes,
like
sir.
hashtag Anakin Skywalker.
Fucking right.
It's our time to shine. So man, you hear professionals in our industry cry about, oh my God, it's tax season. Oh my motherfucker, then you shouldn't have signed up for it.
Right.
Like, it's like Patrick Mahomes crying that it's the playoffs.
Right.
Like, this is your time of year to shine, man. It's your time of year to make some fucking money. So
1000%.
Stop crying, especially with the economy.
I
I don't know where you guys are at
with
the economy, because 50% of America owns about like 90 some odd percent of the assets, right? The other 50% are foot in the bill. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where you guys are at on that 50% spectrum, but I don't think the economy is doing as well as we think it's doing, but I think we're being told it's doing better because, the media is pro-Biden, right? And so Biden's in an election year, and they kind of have to also distract you from his, I guess.
Like this.
Yeah, mental issues, right? Right? Just like marionettes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They just put that in front of you, man. But I feel like
of destruction, brother.
Dude, times of calamity and distress have always been producers of the greatest men.
Oh, no, absolutely. So it's funny that you mentioned that, right? I was thinking about this today. I was listening to this interview by Bill Ackman, investor, multi-billionaire, Harvard alum. So he was talking about this relationship he was in. And so this was actually one of the concepts I wanted to talk about today, was just relationships and how it impacts anybody at every level.
Okay.
And how those particular problems lead to better solutions, but you have to go through those problems to get to a better solution, right?
Facts, yeah.
So he was talking about this divorce that he went through just maybe 6 years ago now. He's 57. Okay, and I was just listening to him. He was on Lex Friedman. Shout out to Lex Friedman. It's like my
shout out, Lex.
Lex is my favorite podcast, man. But he was talking about this divorce that he went through at 51, and you would think to yourself, and you could hear the pain, you could hear the hurt, wife of however many years and kids and the separation and just the difficulties that he had to go through, right? And like we have a tendency to like dehumanize like billionaires and think that they don't have feelings. And so my point was this is like, that wasn't the takeaway. The takeaway was I was listening to the hurt, like the dissatisfaction, the disappointment, because as a guy, you always feel like you can fix some shit.
Yeah.
We get ourselves in trouble.
With that.
Yeah, 100%, right? And so he was like just talking about, just how difficult and painful of a situation it was. And I was like, that's a message for the everyman that even a billionaire with all his resources, with all his influence, with all his material goods, could not salvage, could not save a relationship.
1000%.
Right? So that it should be a message to any other guy out there, like, it's okay, man. Like, because we all beat ourselves up, right? When you come out of a relationship, you think, I could have did this, I could have did that. If I'd had more money, if I had more cars, if I took her on more vacations, if I'd have bought her a better necklace, if I'd have done this. 100%. Watch the Daisy Duck, like, the number one cause. Go back
to episode 5.
Right? The number one cause of divorce is a very expensive wedding. But the takeaway was, this happens to everybody, no matter where you're at on the economic spectrum. And if it's just out of your control, it's just out of your control. And you got to do like Rakim said, man, kick a hole in the speaker, pull the plug, and then jet.
That's it,
right?
Man.
You cannot
these are
waste
the issues faced by men. It doesn't
matter
matter where you are. Common mental health, addiction, workplace challenges, relationship conflict, racism, discrimination, like housing, financial insecurity. Like, these are all things that we have to deal with.
We get afflicted with on a daily basis, right? This is how. It's not if you're going to be presented with a problem.
Right.
You are going to be presented with a problem. It's how you handle that problem, and if you try to find a solution. Like, are you a problem solver, right? Do you try to find ways to fix stuff, or do you just allow life to happen to you, and then you just sit back and then claim victimhood? Because to me, that's not being a man. Nope. Being a man is pulling yourself up by your britches,
bootstraps.
Right? Yep, bootstraps.
Even if you don't have boots.
Even if you don't have boots.
Yeah, because
and then making stuff happen. And so the what happened with Bill Ackman at the end was, he went through this very trying period in his life, right? And he ended up meeting like his soulmate, So the woman he's been with for the last 6 years is just like, I mean, he could not sing her praises enough. And this is a guy that could be with pretty much anybody, right?
He's like late 50s still.
It's like
right?
57.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you're at in life. You could be in your 50s and start over and find your soulmate, right? And that's what I took away from it was if he wouldn't have went through this experience with his divorce, right? He wouldn't have met this woman. And more importantly, he wouldn't have appreciated the value that she brings to the relationship.
Hey, man, $4 billion is a lot more fun to deal with when you got somebody to spend it with.
So he got a divorce and he found another girl.
It was after the fact.
It was after the fact.
It was after the fact.
Oh, he was no side chick or anything like that? Okay.
No, it was after the fact, disappointed, depressed, couldn't fix the situation. And then he ended up meeting this lady just through mutual friends. She was like an MIT professor and stuff like that. So, and it was funny. He thought he was going to lose it to Brad Pitt because Brad Pitt liked some of the work that she did. And so it's a real funny story about it. But the point was just, he landed on his feet.
Like Israeli chick, right?
Yeah. It's an Israeli chick, yeah. He landed on his Neri something, Neri Oxman, I think.
Yeah.
But he landed on his feet. But the point was, you had to go through that let's take your situation, Weezy.
Okay.
Think about all the think about the girls. I don't know how many you've been with. I don't want to blow you up. I don't want to get you in trouble with Sam. But just think about
at least 10,000.
Yeah.
Just some Ric Flair shit.
Woo! Not even.
Right? How many chicks have rode the Space Mountain?
Probably less than 20.
Okay. So imagine all the trials and tribulations that you went through, right? With these however many women it was, before you finally got to Sam, before you finally recognized that diamond in the rough. Now, maybe you would have recognized Sam as the diamond in the rough without those experiences. I don't think you would have, because you would have to go through those negative experiences to realize what it is that you wanted in a woman. Because the first thing you told me about Sam was, when I first saw Sam, I said to myself, that is the mother of my children.
Wow, yeah.
Before you guys ever even went out on a date. So your experiences led you to that moment to realize that she was going to be that special person for you that you could spend your life with.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was a lot of ratchety ass types of girls I've been with, you know what I mean? That was, that wasn't it, So I was like, whether it was I got with a girl and she had kids of her own and I wanted my own family or whatnot, or it just wasn't a good match, even though I tried my best to make it work.
Right.
And then I found Sam. She was just right there in the cafe in front of me while I was working at Lifetime.
Just popped up, man.
But it's funny how you said that. You have to go through all these, people. You have to go through all these relationships before you find the right one. It kind of reminds me of that song by Rascal Flatts, "Bless the Broken Road."
God damn.
I'm gonna play that shit.
Hey, let me ask you this: before you ran into that situation and came face to face with your fate, did you believe in the concept of soulmates at all?
No,
You didn't.
no.
Do you believe in it now?
No.
Okay. No, and I don't think that's like
a knock at all.
A knock on your relationship.
Yeah.
Because I think relationships are what you make of them.
Yeah, relationships
it takes
hard,
work.
man.
Yeah, soulmates
it's
imply you can just wake up and everything's fine. You don't have to put the work in.
Twin flames. Yeah. It's like that. But wow, that's interesting that you would say no to that, because I for sure thought you'd be a yes man with that one.
What would Sam say?
I don't know. She's always thought that I was like a hopeless romantic, kind of like how you would picture me. But no, because I thought I did.
I'm letting that bitch
I thought I did have a soulmate before.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Here
that
it goes.
didn't work out.
When you, in the early relationship with Sam, because the bloom isn't off the flower, the flower isn't off the bloom.
Yeah.
What's that expression? Would you have said she was your soulmate first year or two?
No.
Okay.
No.
No, I just wanted to see if there was consistency. There was, and then the Daisy Duck shit kicked in.
No, we went on some dates, and then we were just kind of good friends for a while, and then I was like, this is it. This is the girl. You know, she, I could just tell just by how she was with her parents. She called her mom every single day, which was cool. Weird to me. It's you call your mom every single day.
Yeah.
And then I got to meet them, and I found out that they're.
You start calling them every day.
Nah. Then I just saw their family dynamic and how much I wanted that for myself, comparing it to what I grew up with. I'm like, that's what I want.
I think when the bloom is off the rose.
Bloom is off, thank you.
Right. You have to find other ways to love the relationship, right? And for you guys, you had this ascribed status as parents now, right? Times two. And then that comes with this whole set of different things, I'm sure, right? I don't have kids at all, but then there's another reason to love her, and you can see her from a different angle, right? And then you can find a different kind of attraction. And then, you know, all of the other things times what you're already going through just make her even more beautiful in your eyes, right?
Yeah.
That's how it goes, I think. I think that's how it goes. In my mind, that's how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not married, and I'm the byproduct of many failed relationships, right? I've played a part in those failures, so I'm still trying to find my Bill Ackman, Neri Oxman, Luis and Samantha Cortez situation.
Knock on wood.
Right? But it's work, man. It's what you put into it, right? You guys,
exactly.
You
it's
know,
what you put into
could
it.
you see yourself without her and without the kids?
No.
Yeah.
Can't.
You know, and that's a fair statement. Like I don't think it's. I think you can have both worlds where it's like, yeah, she's not my soulmate, but I also can't see myself without her because I believe this, and some people think this is really rigid and really difficult. But I'm not. I was not put on this earth to live anybody else's life. I've told my mom this. I've told my daughter this. I've told my significant others this. And I don't mean that like they're not necessary. They're very necessary in my life. But I also tell them, you weren't put on this earth to live my life. Like, you live your best life. Let me live my best life, and we'll meet in the middle somewhere. Because the main lesson I teach to my daughter, or I hope that she like listens to me when I talk, is like, you know, you have to make yourself happy. Do not make a decision where you think like, oh, this may make my dad happy. Obviously, don't do anything to embarrass the name, right? Don't do anything criminal. But in terms of like your pursuits in life or what you enjoy or what makes you happy, do what's best for you. And I'll support you in that. And I'll support you in that. But don't live your life for me. Because when I'm gone, right, I don't want you sulking. I don't want you crying. Because what's the equation I always talk about? You put your age in the numerator. You put infinity in the denominator. And you could make it 40, 80, 120 in the numerator. It's always going to pop up as 0.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the amount of time that you literally have here on this earth.
That's right.
It's 0. And it does not matter. I was talking to friends last night about the Kobe Bryant situation. And, man, he's so young when he died, like in his 40 years old, 41 years old. And I referenced that to the fact that, you know, when he woke up that day, he was no idea anything was going to happen to him. It's like
I say that all the time.
Like it's like the turkey.
Yeah.
When the turkey wakes up on Thanksgiving Day, right? For 1,000 days it had been fed.
Yeah.
And 1,001, the turkey thinks he's going to get fed until whack.
Yeah.
That's why you don't trust a farmer. Trust the wolf.
Well, I'll take it one step further, right? Think about the dinosaur problem. I was thinking about like the dinosaurs were on the earth for how long?
Man, a couple
150 million years?
Yeah.
Until they weren't? Until the asteroid hit the earth and took them out?
You ever watch Rick and Morty?
I don't.
There is an episode about that, about the dinosaurs. And in fact, all of them didn't die. A few of them got off the planet, and it's a great episode. You guys have to.
I will watch it just for that.
I'm gonna watch it. We're gonna watch that together,
Okay.
and then we'll have like a pseudo like.
Make sure you
episode.
put that in the show notes. I can put it in.
Put that in there.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
No, that's cool though.
But let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
In lieu of what you were saying about, you know, your conversations with your daughter, and I've got my card here. I'm gonna pick one right now.
Let's do it.
If you had,
hold on for a second. You want to explain to the
yeah.
audience?
So this is shout out to you know, the Self. This is a card game that I play with my closest of kin. They have a relationship deck. They have a deck for coworkers. They have a deck for perfect strangers. They have a deck for dating, for if you're already in a relationship, and they have a Self edition. I discovered the Self edition during COVID. And for me, like, I have all of the decks, and I feel like the Self edition deck has the best questions.
Okay.
This is just like what you would ask the homies. So what we did before the show is that we randomly just pulled 2 cards each, and you know we do this off scripted. You know, we have like an idea of some of the things we may want to discuss. And for me, I'm on the road, I'm running, I'm thinking, oh, this would be good to talk about. Dupre might be driving back from a client. He's like, okay, this might be good to talk about, right? Kiko might be in between a drop set. He's like, this might be, but we figured, let's do something different.
Well, and then I just want to dovetail before we get into that. Like, so if you're watching this and you're like, well, how come these guys, how come their synergy is so good? We've also known each other for a really long time, and we've also had a million dialogues and conversations. So we kind of like know each other's energy, when to like. I never know when to pause or shut up. But these guys are really good at like, you know, at taking breaks and like waiting for the pause. So, but we all understand each other. So I digress. Go ahead, Harris.
Yeah, no, it's good. So my question would be, if you had to choose to live in your future or in your past, which would you choose and why?
Oh, that's a deep question. For me, I don't believe in going to the past. It's that passage from the Bible where I think God, when he was destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, and he told, I don't know if it was Lot or whoever it was, he's like, don't look back, you'll turn to salt.
Yeah, pillar of salt.
Pillar of salt. And so Lot's wife, I can't remember her name, turns back and looks, turns into a pillar of salt. So I've always taken that as like a metaphor for life, just like, don't look back to the past, man, because you cannot go back and change time no matter what. Like, you can't even really verify that time even happened yesterday, right? So to me, you can only move forward, and forward is where the progress is at. So I'd want to live in the future. Now, are we talking about, do I know what's going to happen in the future? Am I creating my future? Like, what's the essence of that statement in terms of like?
I think it's whatever you decide.
And for me, I want to see. I like the future. I like the unknown. I like where I'm at in life. I like my past has led me to this position. I've been able to overcome, some very, very poor decision making in my life that has put me in very precarious situations. I've learned from those situations. I've been fortunate. Like I always say, like people who have done lesser have had suffered greater consequences than I have. And so I'm always grateful. I think Kiko was telling us one day about he has his little sayings that he says in the morning about being grateful and being appreciative. And while my little prayer isn't as eloquent as his, I do like try to give my penance before the gods and say, hey, I'm really grateful and appreciative for this time and for this day to overcome my mistakes and my poor decision making. And it doesn't go any further than that. And it's allowed me to like now take this look into the future, like where am I going to be at? Like if I continue upon this trajectory, like at this plight of self-improvement, because I do feel like I am continuing to get better. No doubt. And I like the opportunity of like creating, and the future is about creating. It's about innovating. And so for me, let me go to the future.
I love that, man. And I always felt like with that Lot story that you brought up, I never knew if she turned into a pillar of salt because she looked into the past or because she was disobedient. You know what I mean?
Point, yeah.
Because for me, like if I was answering that question, I would have to go to the past, man. I feel like the past helps you find meaning in life. It helps you build self-esteem. You get to go back and visit people who are no longer around, right? In my past, I've got some key figures in my life who are no longer, right? Who were my reason for being, right? Like they made me into the man that I've become. So like selfishly, I'd want to go back to the past to visit, those. But that's an interesting take.
But would you change anything?
No, definitely wouldn't change anything. Right. But if I were prompted with that question, I would pick the past over the future for different reasons.
No, I like that. I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer because it's tempting to want to go back into the past. For sure. And that's why I asked, like, would you change anything? And like for me, I'm like, I couldn't change, even if it was like, Mark, would you go back and grow up, a silver spoon kid, or grow up wealthy, or become X, Y, and Z person? I'm like, no, because there's no guarantee that I would be here today.
It's funny that you said that. Is like we always talk about the March Prelude on the Vinny Vidi Vici album from Ja Rule. Shout out to Ja Rule.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Lord, can we get a break?
Lord, can we get a break?
We ain't really happy here.
We ain't really happy here.
Take a look into my eyes.
Take a look into my eyes.
And see pain without fear.
And see pain without fear.
Lord.
Lord.
Oh, Lord.
Can we get a break? But Irv Gotti is like, there's a skit on there where there's a guy and he's like, I love it. I love to be black, Gotti. I love it hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it reminded me a little bit about what you were saying, man. It's like I definitely wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
You know, I would just sit back and reflect and take notes, right? I used to have that acronym and that idiom and that whole philosophy behind my hashtag take notes to stay broke,
Yep.
you know, and it's just like pay attention, man, because the signs have always been there. You just have to be attuned to what's happening, you know.
You know what the question, it would be an interesting question to ask somebody who was assassinated for their fame or for their plight. So, like, I wonder, like, if you ask, we'll just go back and say, like, you know, it's Black History Month.
Right.
I did end up purchasing the autobiography of Malcolm X. I've read it a few times.
Man.
I had to get back in it again.
Great book, guys. If you guys have not
very
read that book,
transformational.
read that book, listen to that book, watch something about that book. It is life-changing.
But I wonder, like, because when you asked that, I was thinking about, I was like, if I asked Malcolm X, because you think of the impact that he had,
Right.
like, would he have led the same life that he led, or you know, would he have been like, you know what, I'm gonna play a little bit safer, and I want a longer life? You could pose the same question to Martin Luther King. You could pose the same question to Jesus Christ. You could pose the same question to Gandhi. You could pose the same question to any one of these world historical figures who have transformed society. If they had it to do over again, would they have done it the same way?
Yeah, man. I think that, you know, the good die young, as we always talk about,
That's
right?
your boy Billy Joel.
Yeah, man.
Only the good die young.
So it's one of those things, man. Like I think that when you're faced with the end of anything that is of importance to you in life, there is a challenge with letting go. Like we all wake up, we all engage in things knowing that there's going to be a grand opening and a grand closing.
I love that.
I mean, like
we're born to die.
Yeah, you think. I mean, you know, but you don't. 40 years is a long time. You know, I'm almost at the 40 years. You know what I mean? It's a long time, and so I think you start to, you know, take things for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
You
think
know?
about like 70,000 years ago, or even 80 or 90. Like the average lifespan was like 35 years.
Right, for sure.
Right.
Like I'm way senior citizen.
100%. Like
according to those standards.
According to those standards, that's not like that long ago.
Yeah.
Right. Divide that by infinity, it's zero.
That's what I'm saying,
Right.
man.
And so it's like appreciate and value the time that you have here. I'm curious. I mean, would you swap? Like, say you live to 80. Would you swap lives with Martin Luther King?
Me?
Yep.
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't do it. Because I feel like I don't have to be the kind of figure he was to evoke the kind of change that I want to see in the world. Yep. And I think that I have the benefit of, you know, being on his shoulders, right? And coming into a world that was already...
It's very Isaac Newton of you.
No, but it's true.
Because he says, like,
it's true, though.
He was where he was at because he stood on the shoulders of giants, and that's what you're saying.
That's what it is, man. Okay. You know, I used to listen to the song by the Ramones, Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, that probably fucked y'all up, right?
That's a good drop.
You didn't even expect me to drop a Ramones drop, but there it is.
It fucked me up.
And for me, it's like, I feel like I can do so much more with 80 years than I can with 40, knowing the person that I am, you know? And I'm thinking like, all right, I'm at the 8 turning into 24, and that's a big deal because I'm a Clippers fan, but shout out to Kobe, Bean, Bryant. We love them.
Yep.
And I think, man, like, what did he do in that second act? You know, he did so much more because he had the wherewithal. He had the development. He had the experience. He had the shortcomings. He had, you know, the disagreements. And
it's what we talked about, like, we talked about with Bill Ackman and going through that difficult situation, and then like finally realizing what he wanted to make was Kiko going through his situation,
right,
experiencing the hardships, going through the failures, like the trials and errors, the scientific method, right?
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about with Kobe. Like 1000%. With his second act was everything that he went through in his first act made his second act that much better, but he had to go through that first act.
Yeah,
he had to go through Colorado.
Yeah, man, Colorado was something. I remember he did I think his, it might have been his last season or his second to last season where he had a Nike commercial and it was like an orchestra of fans booing him. And like he was able to cue it up. And I thought that was one of the illest commercials ever, right? because like he used like the power of that to become so much more.
Yeah.
And I think that if he hadn't had that Colorado fiasco, he wouldn't have been.
You're right. I think it humbled him.
I don't think he would have been like Jordan-esque at all. I think he would have been like what LeBron is, and that's no disrespect.
It's no knock. It forced him to be a man, an agent of change.
Yeah,
because he had to change and rehabilitate who he was.
He had
because
to show you, you fucked up.
Yep.
I'm about to tune all of this noise out.
Yep.
I'm about to go back to ground zero in Italy. Just me in this court on the blacktop. You know what I mean? And that's all that matters to me.
And that's an American story, though, if you think about
man.
it. People love to see you rise. People love to see you fall. They root for your downfall.
And that a bitch.
Right? But they also love second chances. You know, and he went through all those iterations in such a really short time frame, like a shooting star across the sky. But, you know, he lived a really robust 40 years.
Yeah, man. You always got them people on the sidelines. You know what I mean? On that Dirty Steve shit.
Love that movie. Navajo.
Hey, not all the way believing in you, but like keeping a keen eye on you, man.
Yeah, for sure, right?
You guys got to go watch Young Guns as well. Yeah.
It's a great movie.
We got some good drops in here already, man.
I could talk about that movie the rest of the episode. But no, I mean, it's cool. Kiko, what about you? Future, past, where you at?
Damn. I would probably go at the risk of changing and losing my kids because I have to go to the past. Yeah. I would go to the past.
Okay. Why is that?
I would just want to talk to myself, you know, give myself a little pep talk like, hey, you know what? You're going to be all right. You're going to be great.
I feel that.
You are loved.
Do you think that would change you, though? Like if
I
you
think
told
it would.
Yeah, and I think if you went back and altered the past like that, it would change it. Maybe it's even for the better.
It wouldn't be for the
I don't think it would change you. I think you would just be more prepared for the shit you got to deal with. And you like, how many of us?
But it's the butterfly effect, you know?
No, but how many of us listening right now and watching us on this podcast have a moment, an existential moment in your life where you think this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me, right? A lot of us, right? Like how much comfort would it be to have somebody that is you come back and say, you know what?
You're going to be all right.
This isn't the worst of anything. Like, I'm here, so we made it through this. Like, there is...
That's great. I love that.
No, because there is just a level of... I even got chills in saying that. There's a level of comfort that provides, knowing that somebody can believe in you enough to say, this is just...
Yeah, if I saw my future self as a kid, I would just be like,
this is a gang of shit.
I would be like, really? I'm going to be... a dad. I'm gonna have my own business. I'm gonna be doing videos for a living. Like, you're gonna be making how much? Like, yo. Like,
did you guys ever like daydream or fantasize what you're gonna be like as an adult?
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to do was rap, and so I've done that, you know. And I'm still gonna continue to do that. And then there was a point where I wanted to improve the fabric of my society by health and fitness, and then I did that.
Yeah,
you know. And then there was a time where I wanted to
still doing it,
help people, you know, find generational wealth through, you know, ownership and housing, and I'm doing that now. You know, so it's like I've been fortunate enough to like actualize all of the things that I had as dreams, which is a trippy thing, and it also and here's why it's trippy. It's trippy because, like, what's the impetus to wake up tomorrow?
That's a fair statement.
And this is something that I wrestle with a lot. Like, what's making me go right now?
For me, it's the equation. It's always my age over infinity.
Yeah.
Like, one day you ain't getting up. Yeah. And that day's coming soon.
Yeah.
There's this scene in this movie I just watched, Kingdom of Heaven. And the Christian forces are getting ready to fight Saladin.
Okay.
And Balin, who's the main character, tells his, I can't remember the guy who's riding off. He's like, you're riding off to like certain death. And the knight looks at him, he says, my friend, all death is certain.
Yeah, man.
And I'm like, you know, I always think about that equation, you know, so that's what gets me up in the morning is like, I know one day I'm not getting up and I don't know when that day's coming. You know,
I guess when I ask that question, I mean it to say when you've taken stock and inventory of your life and you wrote down all of the things that you were chasing as your wild rabbits and you've kind of like crossed the line on all of those things. One of my friends who's highly successful, she was like Forbes 30 under 30. You know, she's like, Mark, you're just not dreaming big enough. But I'm like, no, you got to understand where I come
Like
from.
I told Kiko about getting a blowjob.
No, but where I come from,
thinking big enough.
like where I come from, this is fucking like people would laugh at me
For sure.
when
sure.
when I would say that I'm going to do these.
And that's
these
key.
things.
It's like you got to measure where you came from. This goes back to our very, very first podcast when we were talking about where we're starting from, just opposed to like say celebrities.
Right.
Like our plight is like is the inverse, right?
Yeah.
Of what these other people are doing. They're coming from a top-down approach, you know, giving you knowledge from like a level that you're never ever going to experience.
Ever.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. And we're coming from a place that everybody's come from.
No doubt.
I mean, that's a part, you know, I don't want to go on a diatribe. I want to get back on
I
your
want
thought.
you to though, man. I like it when you go.
I'm not ready on
Hey,
this.
when you go with the riffs. Hey, shout out to the Tuesday riff, by the way, man. I love that.
Thanks, man.
I love that. Please go on a riff.
What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
Diatribe. We were talking about.
This is what happens, man, when you get like to 50, you got so much compressed data that like you need to offload some shit because, man, you lose it in a flash.
What about one of your cards if it doesn't come? What if it doesn't come to you? You could ask me or you
Kiko,
could
go
ask
to your
Kiko.
card. I didn't really like my cards.
No, I haven't even read it yet.
Just read it. Let's go off the cusp with it, off the mark.
Describe a period in your life when you felt most free.
Right now. I've never been more free than now. You know, never been more free than now. Like I feel like I have utter control over everything, and I'm continuing to make improvements on that freedom. This is like the best time of my life right now. I've never been more ready to take on the world, or to, as what Harris would say, wake up in the morning. Contrary to Harris, I don't feel like I've contributed yet to where I want to be at in life, and to go back to that movie Kingdom in Heaven in the beginning where he's like, Balin's, he actually starts off as a blacksmith, but he has a sign above his workshop, and it's like in Latin, and one of the knights ask him, and they say, what does that mean? And I'm paraphrasing here, but he says, a man will be a man, you know, if he, you know, improves the world in which he lives, right? And so I don't think I've fulfilled like that level of Maslow's hierarchy of need yet, but that is on my radar to want to contribute and to give back with the freedom that I have to go back to your question. So for me, right now, in this moment, is the most free that I've ever been in my life.
I love that. And I would say also to challenge like the indirect characterization in that statement. Like through me, you actually have impacted the fabric of society, because if it weren't for you giving me the Peyton Manning speech,
That is true.
that's a BTS that'll soon be up on deck for you guys to listen to. Without that opportunity, I wouldn't have had any of the opportunities I've had since then. I'd still be just okay with the circumstance, and the circumstance was not a bad thing,
Right.
because when you come from where we come from, like anytime you can get into the arena is a good thing.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting on the floor, if I'm sitting mid-level, or if I'm in the nosebleeds, I'm in the arena.
Shout out to Theodore Roosevelt, Man in the Arena.
There it is.
Man, right there.
Teddy Roosevelt,
Right.
Rough Riders.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, but no, thank you. I appreciate that.
it's true.
Yeah, I guess you don't think about, because I didn't think about that in terms of like, hey, I'm trying to improve Harris' life, and maybe
I
I
get
was.
that.
It was just
Yeah.
subconscious.
I
Like,
get that.
selfishly, I was like, man, I just think this dude's going to do well at Lifetime.
Right.
I don't think that's selfish at all.
Yeah.
You're like, you
I just
saw
wanted to
the
bring him over.
opportunity.
Yeah, that's what it was. But no, I appreciate that. I didn't think about that, you know. I just feel like there's more work to do, I guess. You know?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you're in a space now, though, where you're living your truest, authentic self, man. There's nothing like waking up and just kind of letting your nuts hang a little bit, you know what I mean? And I feel like the more that I'm able to be in this kind of entrepreneurial space, the more I feel okay with some of the things that you just said, and it's rarefied air, man. You know, there's a lot of difficulty. There's an immense struggle. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of doubt that can creep in, but ultimately knowing that like what you put on the table is what you're gonna kill. Like to me, that gets me excited, man.
Yeah, the thrill, the chase, the hunt.
That gets me excited. I mean, it goes back to our primal selves. You know, we still rocking with these archaic brains. Like these brains are wired.
Brain, right?
They're wired to be that way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, like, yeah, you know, you have the doubt, you have the, I don't know if this is gonna work. Maybe I should do something else. Maybe some supplemental to this. But then it's like,
you got to stay with it, man. I a very person that's like dear to me. Just got an opportunity to play college baseball, right? And so I was thinking about it, and I'm like, this put in the iterations over 15, 16, 17 years without any reward for his efforts, right? Without getting up every day knowing that at some point in time in the future, however long it was going to take, hopefully that he would accomplish his first of many successes, like with his baseball career. And I kind of like, you know, because we just started this thing.
right.
And I'm like, you know, if we keep with it, we don't know when. Like it's like the second coming of Jesus. We don't know when.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. So for us, it's you know, keep putting in the work. And if you do good stuff, if your heart and your mind are in the right place, and you put in enough iterations, it's all about, we go back to the scientific method, right? You got a hypothesis, you test the hypothesis, you analyze the results, you innovate, you improve the process, or you figure out a new way to do it. And you just keep repeat.
It's crazy when you're able to make sense of like the things that you've kind of told yourself over the years, and you can share it with the newer generation, and it can click with them in a way.
It's the naked truth that Ralph Waldo Emerson talked about in Self-Reliance.
Yeah, man.
You know, where it's like, don't be afraid to speak the naked truth.
Also, that's a great essay for you guys to pick up. So we just hit you with a few drops, right? We hit you with Malcolm X. We hit you with The Kingdom of Heaven.
Yep.
And
Ralph
now
Waldo
we're telling
Emerson.
you to read Self-Reliance, which is my favorite essay from Ralph.
Yeah. No, it's
Good one.
very poignant. If you don't read that and come out of that, like,
Kill yourself.
right, a little more liberated.
Damn.
Finish him.
Read it again, you know, but just a little bit slower.
Yeah, I was thinking to that point. If I can give anything as a best practice is like read, but also like know that there's action items in the things that you read. So don't just read for the sake of like finishing the book to say that you read that and you could be a part of that.
A vanity metric.
Yeah. Look, but actually, like if you're reading a chapter, you should have some highlights in that chapter. You should have some notes in that chapter. You should have some dog ears in that chapter. Yeah. But that chapter should also like create like the impetus for you to get up and do something related to what that chapter was about. Or else, why are you reading it?
Yeah. No, for sure.
I think when it comes to reading, I found this like hack for myself. Like I've always listened to like Audible and like Apple Books.
Yeah.
But I've never really looked into like Kindle because I figured there'd be all the
Boom.
same.
I got my Kindle.
But then I got a Kindle, and then like you can listen to it and read at the same time. Dude, that's just like
Really?
the comprehension level is
Game
like
changer. I've been saying that for
insane.
years.
So I'm like on the treadmill, and like 45 minutes just goes by quick.
Yeah.
And like the ability to read and hear it at the same time is like another level. So that is
Game
the
changer.
hack I would give to
that- you get
anybody.
that
So
3D
get on
experience.
Kindle. Yeah.
I'll check, I didn't know about that, but
Yeah.
I'll check it out for sure.
No,
A great life hack Harris gave to me was reading on the Stairmaster. Like that,
Dude, I
man, you
need
want to
that.
talk about melting 50 minutes like in no time
Boy.
flat, but
Yeah.
you're like in a zone. Like I get like serious in a zone in terms of like the material that I'm reading because just block out the world.
Yeah, when you're
It's-
talking about like the freedom, like when do you feel the most free? Sometimes
Yeah.
when you're reading
Oh,
and you're just in that zone.
My
Yeah.
greatest 2 hours of the week is Saturday morning, Sunday morning, just reading, drinking coffee, taking notes. Like, cause I'm in the Michael Jordan zone. Like it's like an outer body experience. That's when everything hits for me, man. You know, so
I
but to
love
your
that.
point,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, man. What about you, Kiko? You got a couple cards. You wanna ask any
Oh,
questions?
I was.
Well, he went with the freedom one.
I was thinking about the freedom part. You know,
Yeah, when were you the most free?
so I haven't done this in a while, but just because I've been so caught up with like other people's work. But when I'm doing my edits, like say I just came from like a dope ass hike,
Yeah.
I just filmed like a waterfall.
Yeah.
I just filmed like some wild horses, or I'm out there like on my Jeep just off-roading and things like that, or like maybe some family stuff. And I'm like editing those kind of like videos that I've just made, like whether it's from a trip or like a family, and I'm just in my zone.
Yeah.
And I can just make all these crazy edits and like like graphics and effects. That's my shit, dude.
Love
like
that.
I just get in my like, I'm in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like an artist.
So I love that. So that's where I get lost in my flow.
You don't think about nothing else but that.
Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. That's a good book, Flow. Yeah.
What is it?
Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. That's the author.
Okay.
He wrote a book called Flow, which kind of speaks to what he was talking about.
Just forget about time.
Yeah.
Kind of like your first kiss.
But I meant your card.
reading.
You got 2 cards. So I was
gotcha.
saying, what question might you want to ask from one of those 2 cards?
I thought he did already.
I did.
He asked me the freedom one. When you
you
were
did?
most free, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we're all on one then.
Yes.
I gave you 2 more then. You have.
Oh, I didn't. I haven't.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
bad. I'm sorry. Trying to avoid.
I knew one of us had something that we had to.
I like to. All right. What do you value more in a person? Their intention or their action?
That's an easy one. Action.
Value is the operative word, though.
Yeah.
You know.
But here's what
Value
I
is the
think. Like you
operative
can
word.
intend to do stuff, right? You can talk about it.
Is it an idiom? What's the old idiom? Like the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's whatever the action is, that's what counts to me. That's who you are. You
Man,
know?
but the intention, I think the intention to me matters a little bit more because, like, I can't if I do something with the intention on it being
It's the meaning
the greatest
behind it.
thing
Yeah.
that could change the world, but it falls on deaf ears and blind eyes.
Yeah.
I have no control over that.
Right.
My intention was to do this because it was going to improve the fabric of our society.
But that was the action when you did it.
No.
No?
The intention, to me, I don't think you can have one without the other.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
So to me, it's hard to separate the two because the intention leads to the act. Like, unless you believe like in a deterministic world where like something is nudging you and you don't really have any free
love
will
that
over
word,
your decision
It's
making.
a great book also, Nudge.
By Cass Russman or whoever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you have to. I could be completely wrong, but I think you have to have one precedes the other. You have to have the intention to act. Otherwise, you just act. And if you just act, then you go back to that SPR model where it's like there's no pause.
I love that we can come back to that.
It's stimulus and then response. So, and I could be wrong, but when I hear just the word action, it's just a response. Intention means that it's like, to me, it's like the difference of premeditated murder and manslaughter. Like manslaughter is you just acted. Like you didn't mean to kill somebody. Premeditated intention, you're going to prison for life, man.
You know, and it's funny how the law works. Like it doesn't take much for it to be premeditated, you know?
Yeah.
Like the heat of passion is one thing, but, you know.
Yeah, if you're a dude out there, don't get caught up in the heat of passion, man. There's too many women in this world.
Don't do it.
And don't go after another guy unless he deliberately is not leaving your girl alone. Your girl is a willing participant.
Man,
I
remember I used to watch BET Uncut.
Yeah.
And they had Nelly's tip drill video on there.
Oh man.
Must be the best, but there ain't nothing wrong to be a tip drill. I'm like, oh, okay. I see how shit is now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, open your eyes up.
It's true, man. It is that way.
So I'm just saying, like, don't bum rush another dude if your girl's with another dude. Just you gotta be like the movie Heat. Robert De Niro's character Neil, where he's
so
like
mad about that though.
The end sucks. Don't watch the last 10 minutes. Other than that, it is one of the top 5 movies.
Dude, I just hate that ending so
I know,
much.
but Neil says an iconic line where he says, never get yourself in a situation that you can't get out of in 30 seconds when you feel that heat around the corner. So if you are in a situation,
I hate that part.
Man, it could be family, which you and I have had our discussions.
For sure.
It could be failed relationships, which all of us have suffered before. It could be a bad work relationship, which all of us have suffered through and experienced before. But you know what we all did? We all employed the old Neil principle, man, in heat, and got, we felt the heat around the corner, and in 30 seconds flat, boom, I'm out.
My man Vincent was like, who?
Yeah.
Who are you, a fucking owl?
Dude, that movie's awesome. Who? Dude, when Tone Loc is talking to him, and he's like, man, Ace, I can get killed for telling you some shit like this. And he's like, you could get killed walking your doggy. Like, totally unnecessary.
Yeah, it's true though.
Give me all you got.
Yeah.
Give me all you got.
Man, I love me some Al Pacino.
Dude,
man.
he is fucking phenomenal in that movie.
I love me some Al Pacino.
Because she's got a great ass. Remember that shit? He's like, man, I don't even know how I caught up in there. I know, because she's got a great ass. It's a funny story about that. So the guy that he's saying that to is like, he does all the voices for The Simpsons. I can't remember his name in real life.
Cool.
He was on the Dan Le Batard show, and they're talking about Michael Mann kept making Al Pacino say that. And so he kept getting like ramping up. So you hear him like in the background in that movie, and it's legit like he's like, Jesus. When he hits him with the great ass part, watch that part and you'll hear that guy say, he's like, Jesus. And he was like, that's unscripted. He's like, God damn, he just took it to another level. I wasn't ready for that shit.
He does it in every film he's in.
He's so good, dude. Like, you almost have to get that.
Like that scent of a woman. Hoo-wah.
Oh yeah.
And fucking Any Given Sunday. Like, he's like on his worst behavior in them 3 films, man. I love me some Al Pacino.
He's great in Scarface too. I mean, the iconic line at the end where he hits him, say hello to my little friend.
Well, I like the Quaaludes part in the restaurant. That part was
where he's like, say goodbye to the bad guy.
Well, he's with
Sharon Stone.
Is it Sharon Stone?
No, it's Michelle Pfeiffer. It's Michelle Pfeiffer.
And she's stripping, and he's like, just give her a couple Quaaludes. Yeah, she'll be good in the morning.
Yeah, you're right.
I love that part.
Yeah, it's a great part, dude.
Yeah.
Man, he's awesome, dude.
It's a great film.
Man, dude. I mean, I'm talking about, you got your Godfathers. He's got some good movies.
Chico, is synchronicity something you believe in? Why or why not? Is synchronicity something you believe in? Why or why not?
I think so. Yeah, synchronicity.
Why?
It's kind of like playing with a team, like we're a team, if you've ever played in a team with, in sports or anything like that, like you got to have that chemistry. You have that connection, that respect, that trust that you can lean on that person when you need them to. So I think that's what synchronicity is all about, you can anticipate the other person, what they need, and you can contribute. So
that's a Jungian, that's a Carl Jungian thing there, man, together, and the relation that exists when things occur at the same time, and I think that, I believe in it too, man, and I think the why is, I think whatever you, like, put out, I always say, like, whatever you emit is what you get, so if you come into any situation with well intentions, I feel like it's going to end in well intentions for you.
That's the be, do, have.
Yeah, is that exactly what that is?
Be it, do it, have it, just by a different name.
Yep.
When you think about just that concept, it sounds so simple, but if you break each component down, like the be part is like you're visualizing who you're going to be, right? Like you have to like dream about, you have to have like these aspirations, you have to see your future self.
No doubt.
That's the be part. Like it has to manifest itself, right? That's where the universe conspires to give you what you want. And then obviously you have to do.
Yeah.
Right. There's, like they say, there's people that do that, people that don't. And the difference between, who you are and who you want to be is what you do. Right. So you think about that do, that's the action. Right. But the action comes with the be. The be is the intention.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then finally, if you put those components together, now there's no guarantee you get to the have. The have is like a very tricky word to me in the sense that, what is your definition of have? Is it material possession, or do we just go back to the book, the War of Art, where it's Pressfield, where you take, like what you were saying, when you were the most free, you said was in the act of creativity. When we won't even call it work, right?
No way.
When you were perfecting your craft, you didn't say when I get paid for this. You didn't say when I purchase stuff for getting paid for this. You said in the actual
shit.
Yeah, you said in the actual act itself. That to me is the have part. For us, this is be do have, right? And we get enjoyment. Like I don't know how many people watch our videos on all our different platforms, but when you post them and you do your work, I take great pride in them.
Fucking right.
You know, and I love them, man. And I'm like, wow, like it translates so much better, right? And that's the have part. Now, whatever comes of it is whatever comes of it. But I know that if we keep putting in the iterations, like good stuff's coming from this. I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about, you know, why should you do math? And he's like, even if you don't become like the world's greatest math person, even if you don't like use math like later on in life, he goes, just taking math is kind of like running a race. Even if you don't win the race, you still got benefits from finishing second, third, or fourth, right? You got the cardiovascular out of it, where like if you do some math,
stay hard.
You learn how to reason, you learn how to problem solve, you learn how to troubleshoot, right? You may not necessarily need to know pre-calc, you may not necessarily need to know how to do physics or stuff like that, trigonometry, but it teaches you to problem solve, which is crucial later on in life when you're dealing with relationships, when you're dealing with work problems, just a host of factors. So the secondary and the tertiary effects are so important and play such a vital role in how you go about in your day-to-day business.
Man, Shakespeare wrote those above all, like to thine own self be true.
Man, Hamlet, speak to me.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
man.
that is what it is, and that's the essence of what we do.
But you do believe in that have, whether it's that second or
for sure,
third.
But the have part was, like I said, is like it's not necessarily what you receive, like monetarily. You didn't say that. You said it was the work that you did, and we were talking about the Stephen Pressfield book where it's like, he was quoting the Bhagavad Gita where he said, you know, you have to enjoy the fruits of your labor because you are not guaranteed those fruits, right? Actually, I'm actually that's wrong. You're not guaranteed the fruits of your labor, so you have to enjoy your labor. I got that backwards, right?
That's what I was about to say. You just get the satisfaction of just finishing the project, being a finisher. That's what I get satisfaction from.
Right, just completing.
I just finish it.
And that's the essence of that book, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had listened to it.
I haven't yet.
Okay, so like, no, what you just said is literally the culmination of that book where he finishes a script. Yeah. He's like, no one's read it. I haven't sold it, but I'm done with that motherfucker. I think he literally says motherfucker, like,
wow.
You know, like,
there
peace, son
Spark
of a bitch.
Notes, y'all.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
No, you actually just pretty much summarized what it was about.
And then Bagger Vance happened, and, you know.
Yeah, the gates of fire and stuff. And so, he, you know, but he didn't hit that.
And now I can stand back and like, how many videos have we made? We're episode 12. We've made this like tapestry of like work we can show off for.
Well, his thing is like our life, like our job in this life is not to shape ourselves. You know what I mean? It's into some ideal of what we imagine we ought to be, right? But it's to find out who we already are and become it. You know what I mean? And that's I feel like that's the beautiful thing about what we're doing here with off the mark show is like we're stepping into that.
Yep.
Which is amazing.
We're being it, we're doing it,
I also do feel like, you know, my skills have like fine-tuned just by like the amount of like volume that we're creating in like the different like platforms that we're on. There's a certain amount of like efficiency that you have to get up to so that it doesn't take over my life, for instance, right? So like that in itself has shaped me or has like given me the skill to be efficient at that, which is like a really valuable skill for like anything.
That's the secondary and the third order effects.
That's what I wanted to begin. I knew that. Telling my wife, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this podcast and I don't know what's going to come out of it, but I'm going to gain all these skills because I'm not proficient at doing that. Now I am.
It goes back to that book, man. The most important thing about the art is the fucking work.
It's the work.
You know what I mean? Nothing else matters except sitting down every day and trying to get this thing moving.
I mean, like right now, this is the work.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't feel like work, but this is the work. When you're taking your notes, you're contributing. When I'm voice noting, taking my notes, I'm contributing. Like I never not think about this OTMS. Like it permeates like every day, right? So and I'm sure you guys are the same way, right? We're trying to figure out ways how to improve the product.
Yeah, and I'm always like
for
leaning on
ourselves.
you guys. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about that synchronicity, right? Like,
Yeah.
I trust you guys to give me that feedback.
For sure.
You know, when shit ain't like going like in the right direction, or we need to make that adjustment, call that audible. Let's do it. Like that other day, like Harris was like, "Fuck that AI shit," you know, whatever like post that he came up with. But Dupre with like what was it? Riff with Dupre.
With the guitar at the
Yeah,
end.
that was it.
The guitar,
And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? So I need to lean on you guys for that shit. So that's the synchronicity that we have, man. So
That goes from like knowing
that's-
each other and working with each other for years.
that's that team.
doubt.
That's
The
that
fact that we can
championship
have those
DNA.
conversations,
We
yes.
need that. We need that.
You got to be able to call somebody out in the huddle or in the locker room.
Yeah.
But it's all in love, though. It's constructive,
Yeah.
not destructive,
Hashtag Willie Beeman.
right?
Well, hey, until next time, you guys. We'll talk to you later. Think about it and go get it.
Before it gets
Before it
got.
gets got.
Peace.
Good job, Doug. That was a good episode.
Yeah, man.
Always better than I think, though, when Kiko sends us the negative on Sunday.
Yeah, and you sit there and you're just like, man, that wasn't bad, right?
Yeah. No, it's always better because conversations are good conversations. Like, dude, if you're a dude, you should be watching this shit. Yeah. Especially if you're just like, most guys are average guys in terms of like where they're at on the spectrum, right? In terms of how they conduct their lives. Like, this is really like a fucking cheat code for, what do you want to do?
Yeah, 1,000%.
I mean, we're giving you the fucking like for free.
For
Ain't even a fucking seminar. Like,
Yeah,
you have to
man.
pay for this shit.
Yet.
This ain't like you got to go, right? This ain't like some Dave Ramsey shit. This
Yeah.
isn't like Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't any of that. Jordan Peterson. Like,
Right.
you're getting all the game that they give you.
Yeah.
It may not be as scholarly.
Yeah.
I mean, you speak like a scholar.
Well, we're getting to the point now where it's really polished, man. And I think that,
that's
like,
the thing that's
to the
good.
thing that you just said, like, at some point, like, we'll be able to be in the same kind of conferences with these guys. And, I think the X factor will be the fact that, you can take a motherfucker and say, hey, let's do 50 pull-ups real quick. Keep this water bottle on your head. I can take a motherfucker and say, let's go run 24 miles real quick. Kiko can be like, yo, let's do some sumo squats. You know what I mean? And, like, it all makes sense, right? Because, like, we're not losing anything with what we're gaining. Like, we're still young at heart, young at mind, young at spirit, young at, the way we look. We're able to, I think that, like, our expertise and our experience translates demographics. Like, sometimes, like, I'll challenge myself when the kids are, like, coming around the block in the neighborhood and I happen to be going for a run. I'll try to engage. What's up, man? How y'all doing? And see, like, if I could still, like, break through to this demographic, you know what I mean? And then I'll go, and then I'm on my run, and then I might stop into the gas station and take a leak and grab me a quick electrolyte, and I'll talk to a 25-year-old in there, you know what I mean? And then see if I can connect, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll be on my run. I'll come back home, and I'll get back on my work and connect with people who are our age. I think, like, what's so cool about this dynamic is that, and to me, this isn't like tooting our own horn. I'm just saying, from what I see, is like the hallmark that we have is that it's ubiquitous with the world. It isn't relegated to like a subsection of this area.
It's the Everyman podcast.
Yeah, man.
That's all it is. We're just the
1,000%.
Everyman.
1,000%, man.
Because those are very humble beginnings, man.
It's a good thing.
We had every excuse in the world not to, or to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. I never met my dad. Wham. A lot of people ain't met their dad.
Yeah.
Like, 5 out of 6 kids, fucking wham. Single parent, wham.
Yep.
Lower economic neighborhood,
Man.
wham. You know what I mean? Like, you can cry
Sheet
all day,
metal
don't
for a
give
house.
fuck. What's that?
Sheet metal for a house.
Yeah, don't nobody give a fuck, though. You know what I mean? It's what you got, like Harris said, with the bootstraps. You got boots on, you got to pull them fuckers up, man.
It's all in like how you look at things, man. Because for me, it's like you talked about like the house, but like somebody like me who's an audiophile is like the rain sounds the best on sheet. So it's just like all in how you look at things. You know what I mean? But this was a good episode, man. And I just feel like they continue to get better. I think we're finding our lanes. I think we're getting to the point where we can be succinct about what we want to go ahead and share, and then like it leaves more. I think having that the cutoff is like, okay, we have more where we can put on show notes for subsequent episodes, and it's great, man.
I like the cards. That was a good call.
Yeah, well, I
cards are
just
cool.
keep these here.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Yeah.
just pull them shits out because I think like it helps in moments that where there may be some stagnation for whatever reason, right? You can just pull something out, and they're all thought-provoking questions. You may not want to answer the question; it may not speak to you in that moment, but it'll be great for conversation. I mean, I brought these cards in different combinations of it with high-level people in different sectors of
You wish you had
business.
mics on, right?
Yeah,
That would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at. Like, if you read that card about past and future, like,
For sure.
most people are gonna like think about that, stop and pause, and be like, "Wow, that's a very difficult." Like, there's no right or wrong answer, but you feel like, "Oh my god, if I pick one, I don't pick the other." Blah.
I love how we like answered that intention and then action, and then
that
you're
was fun.
like,
That was
"That's
good.
both," and I was
Yeah,
like,
we broke that
game.
whole thing down like a
Like we,
three-piece
yeah,
chicken
we
dinner.
broke it down. We like structured it, and then it like,
came out like a fucking Popeye's chicken box
Yeah.
and shit.
and you had the benefit of sitting back, and then you just kind of like seeing everyone's answers,
Yeah.
and you like put it all together, and just like click. And that was perfect.
That's what it is. And hopefully one day we take this catalog of videos, man, and maybe we get. I was talking to my friend. You met Neek when he was here for
Yeah.
Super Bowl. His daughter is on AM radio in Seattle. She just has a little spot. She's like, about Native Americans and stuff like that. But
How was that, by the way? It was good. You had some good people come by the house.
I just me, Neek, Weezy, and my daughter. Yeah, I was really chilled. I didn't want
Wings?
too many more. Fucking wings were fucking hard to get that day.
I tore up them wings, bro.
All over. Yeah, so I ordered the wings the night before at Buffalo, and I got them pick up at 2. Now I knew there was gonna be a wait, so I got there like 1:45 just to get in line. Man, fucking 2:45 hit. They didn't even call. I just left. I bounced. So we ordered some wings at fucking Pizza Hut. Okay. We were able to get the first batch. The second batch went ready for like 2 hours and shit.
I was tearing the shits up.
Hey,
Yeah, he was going wild.
old school Pizza Hut, man. I'm a motherfucker that used to go into the Pizza Hut. That was my Pizza Hut
I love that.
experience.
We used to have that
With that
on Lake
motherfucking-
Civic Center. You
yeah,
used to be able to
man,
walk
that
in. They had a
motherfucking
little pizza
salad
salad bar. It was great. Man, they had that pudding. I used to love that pudding, man.
That pudding was, man, I'm telling you, that's old school right there.
Yeah, no, that was like.
I don't know
man,
nothing
my
about
mom
no
would take
delivery.
us to Pizza Hut.
Now we go to
something
Set of
big.
Bellows and shit.
We were doing something big, boy.
Right?
Yeah,
we should
Yeah, no,
definitely
it's
do
cool.
Me
that.
and Harris be
It
eating
was
out
fun.
there.
Cool, neat.
What were you saying about the AM station? I heard.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, his daughter's on AM radio. Like, she got out of college and just got a little spot. I'm just saying, there's no reason why we can't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, especially if we take our catalog, just, that gives us more of an audience, right? And
Yeah.
maybe it gets us some advertisers and stuff. That's all.
Cool.
I mean, we don't stop doing the podcast,
For sure.
but if we can get a spot, maybe. I mean, I know Travis was doing his podcast. They were actually putting it on FM radio.
That's cool.
Because when I sat down and did mine with his, I forgot what radio station it was on, but it was on FM, and that's what the broadcast studio was at. So I'm like, man, if we got to do a fucking late night spot,
Yeah.
we can take a late night spot.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it would be fun.
yeah, it would be.
The thing about it is, man, like there's potential and there's opportunity. I think there's always like a generation of
Somebody's got to be fucking scouring the web for shit,
Yeah.
looking for content,
Yeah.
looking for talent.
Well, you gotta cue things up for the next thing,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like I always hearken it to like high school generations, right? You have 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th nowadays, right? So you have like a 4-year gap. And when you get to year 4, you got to be thinking of the 9th graders coming in because they're speaking a different language. They're dressing different. Things that are important to them are different than what was important to the class before them. And you got to be scouring, the community to find like who is going to be the voice for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I
mean,
think
it's all about distribution, man. Like,
I had a high-level cat yesterday in the gym asking me about the podcast, and I didn't even know he knew that we had the podcast.
that's dope. Yeah.
That was a fucking, like, a big flex. Like,
Yeah.
low-key, I'm like, this dude is, like, a high-net-worth guy. I'm thinking to myself, like, how
'Cause
does...
you know what it is? It's like one day, it may not be him. It may be something like when my guy Benji asked you that one day. Remember Benji?
Yeah.
He was talking to you about the podcast. And
Yeah.
Benji I've never seen you and Benji talk before in my life. And he came.
Oh,
and
we
said-
used to hoop.
Okay, but he was like, he just approached that one day about the podcast. I didn't
Yeah.
even know Benji watched.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's gonna be one of those dudes
Mhm.
that watch it. Someone's gonna say something, and they're like, "Oh, I know these 3 dudes."
Yeah.
And that might be our breakthrough.
That's
That
where
might
I
be our
put the
opportunity.
belief in this podcast. It's just like yesterday, a client of mine just literally like binge watched all of our stuff, commented.
That's cool.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
On all these things. I haven't responded to her yet, but I was like, wow, you just watched all these like episodes and all these like videos on Instagram, and it's just like,
Well, my boy Neek did.
yeah.
He was like, because I told him, he was like, oh yeah, and he launched all of them. And he said like he thought episode 5 is where we started to hit our stride.
Nice.
And he was like, he's like Kiko is like sneaky funny. He goes, he doesn't really say a lot. He goes, but like what he says, if you pay attention, it's like it goes over a lot of people's head, like it flies under the radar. He goes, but it's really funny. So like so I was like, that's cool. I mean, so it's like
You gotta watch like the whole podcast to
that's
catch
what I'm
stuff
saying.
like
Like
that.
you know, on this podcast, we didn't even talk about scattered ass.
We didn't.
At all.
2 episodes in a row.
Wow.
But it's been unintentional.
But it will be back. We'll be back talking about some.
We're on the fucking knife.
Summer is on the way.
Don't worry about it.
Shirts off. We missed that part. Valentine's Day.
That's good.
Oh man.
You got going on this weekend?
Shoot. I'm taking it easy this week. I got a short run tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, easy run, 12 miles, light work. And then,
12 miles light work.
yeah.
I do 2 miles. Like I try to run 2 miles once a week.
I just been doing hit.
And then that's it. I mean, really, that's it, man. I mean, I'll get with Steph and we'll powwow about
You gonna
like.
see her tonight?
I'll probably see her, tonight. She's gonna make some dinner. Sit in the hot tub time machine for a little bit.
That's cool.
And just and she was like, hey, because she's doing 75 hard. You heard of that thing? 75 hard is like a thing you start the new year with. You read 10 pages a night. You do 2 workouts a day. 1 workout has to be outside.
Okay.
They got to be 45 minutes apiece. You got to subscribe